Resveratrol is a polyphenol. It's the stuff that's in grapes that they say, why they say, some people say red wine is good for you, right? You have to drink a couple hundred glasses of red wine a day apparently to get enough resveratrol for it to be really significant. So I just take a gram of powder a day. I get both of those supplements from Renew by Science. Again, the link is on there. You can take both of them. 100-gram powder is the cheapest way to do it. You can also get them in capsules and stuff like that. And again, the link to the resveratrol and the nicotinamide mononucleotide on this site, you guys, is to a company called Renew by Science, but Thorne also sells a version called NR, nicotinamide riboside, which is the second molecular precursor to NAD+. We'll get into that in the supplement section. I'm not going to go over that right now. As far as resveratrol goes, resveratrol is a very, very strong anti-inflammatory, right? So the same thing that exercise and dry needling and good supplementation and eating well do for you, resveratrol reduces the amount of pro-inflammatory markers throughout the body. So again, the most commonly spoken about pro-inflammatory markers in literature are the things like interleukin-1, interleukin-6, tumor necrosis factor alpha, C-reactive protein. All of these things cause more inflammation. And then there's anti-inflammatory cytokines like interleukin-17, interleukin-10, I think interleukin-22 is one of them. Anyways, resveratrol reduces the amount of pro-inflammatory markers. Chronic sympathetic hyperactivity increases the amount of pro-inflammatory markers. One of the hallmarks of aging is chronic body-wide inflammation, right? So if we can reduce inflammation, we improve the autonomic nervous system homeostasis, and we just have a better cellular environment and more energy for our cells to function properly. Next one, you guys, is glucoraphanin. This is broccoli sprout extract. It's just natural broccoli sprout extract. There's something that needs to get converted. Glucoraphanin and sulforaphane are the two looked after compounds in this. So as far as I understand, you can't get this out of regular broccoli unless you cook it with mustard seed powder. There's some sort of enzymatic reaction that happens. So when you buy it from this company, it's already got the enzyme in there that you need. And again, glucoraphanin does something that dry needling does, it does something that exercise does, it does something that eating well does, right? So glucoraphanin, so resveratrol, which we just talked about, reduces pro-inflammatory markers. Glucoraphanin turns on an anti-inflammatory pathway, right? So resveratrols and NMN are improving mitochondrial energy and function, which help clean up the cell. And then we're also turning on a mitochondrial anti-inflammatory pathway called the NRF2 pathway. So we're turning on anti-inflammation and we're turning off pro-inflammation, right? So we're attacking inflammation from both sides. We're reducing pro-inflammatory markers. We're turning on anti-inflammatory pathways, which also help reduce pro-inflammatory markers. We're improving oxygen saturation to the cells in the mitochondria, which allow them to make more energy, right? So another really, really good one, totally natural thing. Next one, omega-3s, and again, you guys remember we go over each one of these in depth in the nutrition and supplementation class. Omega-3s, about 20 to 30% of our brain by weight is omega-3s. Not something that most people know, right? So by eating pro-inflammatory oils or oils and stuff like that that increase inflammation, like seed oils, canola oil, processed foods, all of that stuff increases inflammatory omega-6s if they have omega-6s in them, which decreases the amount of EPA and DHA that we have, right? So EPA and DHA are as effective, and most literature shows they're way more effective at treating cardiovascular disease than any prescription drug that we have on the market right now. Right, so let me just say that again real quick. Omega-3s are more effective at treating cardiovascular disease than any prescription drug that I know of by a long way, right? It's really, really amazing. So they're very, very important. Again, if we don't have the building blocks to produce what 30% of our brain is made out of, if we don't have the building blocks that we need for our brain to remake the stuff that it's made out of, we're not going to be able to think and function our brain properly, which is going to lead to homeostatic dysfunction throughout the rest of our body, right? So nothing changes long-term significantly without the brain telling it to. Vitamin D, 95% of the US population is deficient in vitamin D. This is something we go over in depth. It's from the NHANES study. If you are deficient in vitamin D, you can't your body cannot function normally, right? Vitamin D is essential for things like insulin sensitivity, glucose metabolism, regular metabolism, homeostasis, all this stuff. So if you don't have enough vitamin D, which 95% of the country doesn't, you're going to be sick all the time. And that's cold season, cold and flu season, you guys, has nothing to do with the temperature in the winter time. It has 100% to do with the fact that in most, or in a huge percentage of the United States, people can't produce vitamin D in the wintertime, and most people are just not outside ever, right? So if you're not getting vitamin D, your immune system and everything has no chance of functioning properly. Vitamin D is one of the ones, you guys, that does have some literature on overdosing. I've never read anything about people dying from it, but the people that do start to develop sometimes kidney and liver problems are the people that are taking 60 to 100,000 IUs of vitamin D a day, right? So your body can't produce that much. It just overloads it. Our body does have a reprocessing and recycling mechanism, just like it does for misfolded proteins and stuff like that, right? So I take 5 to 10,000 IUs a day. I typically take 10,000 IUs a day in the wintertime, and I'll take 5 in the summer. And I am outside a lot, you guys. I was a fly fishing guide for 10 years. I was outside for 14 hours a day. I feel better when I take vitamin D. My brain feels like it functions better, right? So I take vitamin D, 5,000 a day in the summertime, 10,000 a day in the wintertime. As far as I understand, no people are going to have an issue with that. And some people could theoretically take more on a short-term basis, at least at the beginning, to give themselves a good base of vitamin D, right? Because human beings are meant to store vitamin D because we're used to, evolutionarily speaking, in the wintertime, depending on where you live, you wouldn't be able to produce vitamin D, right? Magnesium, another super duper important one. About 70% of the United States is deficient in magnesium. Basically, most muscle dysfunctions have a magnesium deficiency correlated with them. Magnesium is involved in over 600 metabolic processes, neurophysiologic processes in the body. It's super duper important, right? So again, I put in here, I take 800 milligrams of magnesium a day. Magnesium citrate and magnesium glycinate are the two most bioavailable, absorbable ones. So basically, when you take magnesium citrate or magnesium glycinate, the biggest percentage of that magnesium actually gets converted into bioavailable magnesium, right? And if you take methylated forms of stuff, you're good to go right away. And then the last one I'm going to talk about here, you guys, methylated multivitamin. This provides all of the vitamins that you need in a bioavailable form already, right? So if they're methylated, that means that our body doesn't have to break them down any further to use. So instead of something like folic acid that your body has to break down a bunch because it's an alien foreign substance, it requires a lot more energy of our body to get to 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate. In this methylated multivitamin, it is in the form of 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate already, so your body doesn't have to expend any energy to utilize it. It's already in usable form. It's a hugely important factor, right? And again, we'll talk about that more in the nutrition supplementation class. So those are the vitamins that I take, you guys. I also test out some of the peptide therapy, BPC 157 and thymosin beta 4 are two that I use. We'll talk about those more in the peptide classes. We'll talk about some other stuff in there, but that is the stuff that I take. Other vitamins that I do talk about sometimes are like quercetin or other compounds. Quercetin, which is in onions, so if you eat an onion every day, you get plenty of quercetin. That's a very, very anti-inflammatory one. It's antiviral. It's good for COVID and stuff like that, right? There's plenty of other good vitamins out there, but those are the ones that I take.